Hey guys, it's Junette. I'm a street photographer based out of California, and in today's video I'm going to show you a pretty cool lens that I picked up for my Sony A7CII. As you guys saw in the intro, I picked up a Voigtlander, and not a Sony E-mount Voigtlander, but a Leica M mount Voigtlander, and that happens to be the 28mm f2.8 color scope bar version 2 in black. And the inspiration for picking up this lens is basically one thing, and it's the fact that Sony sort of doesn't necessarily care about our passion, our sort of desire for street photography. They're interested in making lenses for their business, and their business does not call for a compact 28mm lenses for street photography. So I feel like a lot of people get all stressed out because Sony's not making the lenses they want. But here's the beautiful thing about choice, is that you can go out and sort of find solutions to your problems, and that's what I did. So without talking too much, I'll do a little bit more talking later. I want to show you guys the photos that I got with this lens, and I decided to take it out to Porsche's Air and Water Show here in Southern California in Orange County. This was a pretty epic Porsche event. There was 11,000 people that showed up, and over 1,000 Porsches in basically every single color, configuration, model, and year. I mean, there were so many Porsches, I got so overwhelmed. But what made it really easy was that I decided to only bring one lens, and that lens was this 28, and I felt that I needed to do that because it was going to be tight, you know, the way the cars were set up, the amount of people that exist. And I felt that, you know, I'm a street photographer, so I'm going to approach this car show from a street photography, you know, lens, a sort of viewpoint. I'm only going to take one lens, and I'm just going to creatively compose. So that's what I decided to do. Sit back and relax. I'm going to show you guys the clips from that, the photos. All the photos were edited by me. I will show you guys some of the raws after, but I hope you enjoy. So why did I buy this Leica M mount 28mm when I could have bought, you know, a Voigtlander for Sony E? The reason is because ever since I held a Leica, I fell in love, and I believe and truly think that those cameras are meant for photographers. And all the other film cameras, you know, Canon, Nikon, these are all meant for photographers. And I feel like today, especially with Sony and some of these other brands, you're getting this just a hybrid camera that's really good, but it's not meant for people like us. It's just meant to appease to the whole crowd. And I feel like that's what Leica does, is they really cater to the photography community and photographers in general. So what I'm doing is basically buying Leica lenses that I will eventually put onto a Leica M. Whenever that happens, hopefully sooner than later, and just adapting them to my Sony. Aesthetically on the camera, I wouldn't say that this is the sexiest lens out there. It does look slightly odd because it is super, super small. And when it sits on the body, it just, you can tell that it wasn't meant to be for this camera, like the design. When you're looking down at your camera with this lens on, it just looks like it's super, super small on your camera. It looks really skinny. So how do I actually make this work? Well, I have a earth adapter, Leica M mount Sony E. I have my Leica M mount lens. I just put those together, you know, line up the spots. Should have orchestrated this before, and just turn it and it goes in. So that's exactly how I get that to go on my Sony. And as you can see, you know, it looks slightly weird, but it just fits right in the mount. There's no sort of filler to go around it. I don't mind it. Again, I think a camera should look beautiful. It's obviously not going to be as nice as my X106 that's sitting right there, but it does the job. And that's kind of the way I see my Sony. Is it is not the most inspiring camera in the world, but if I have a lens on it that allows me to sort of get in the creative flow, then I can sort of get around the fact that this is not necessarily the best camera for me. But it works for the time being. And I don't know, I mean, the Fuji is very inspiring and the Sony is less inspiring, but you also have to be motivated as a person. And if you're not, if you don't have like a sort of a drive, a passion, a sort of goal, you're just going to let your gear take the reins and drive you into different spots. But if you have the reins, you can drive yourself into wherever you need to go. Anyways, that was kind of blabbing onto a different subject, but yeah, let's keep going with this lens. Just a few notes on the sort of build of this lens. I'm going to start off with the focus ring. It feels really good. I think all manual focus lenses should have focus tabs. I personally love them. It makes sense. It's so easier to build sort of that muscle memory of where the distances are. I think more manufacturers should do that. And I gotta say, like, if those TT Artisan lenses that I reviewed in the last couple of videos had the focus tab, it would just be the ultimate manual lens for the price. But I think since they don't, my favorite manual focus lenses to date are this Voigtlander, and it will probably be more of these, and eventually, you know, some Leica M mount lenses once we get there. But the focus ring is just fantastic. There's no complaints there. The aperture ring has very nice pronounced clicks, and I've actually heard some people complain that this aperture ring was sort of not the strongest and that you could bump things out of place, like you could bump your aperture. Never happened to me in the 6 hours that I shot, and I've actually done some street photography with it, brought this to Chicago, and never ever did I knock out the aperture ring from its place. So I don't know what that means. The lens cap is, again, it's got that sort of soft on, soft off sort of felt on the inside. I really like that. It's really nice. And then it's actually got this this lens hood. So this thing is even more compact, and I think the lens hood kind of makes it look awkward because it just kind of turns it into this cone. But when you don't have the lens hood, it's nice and flat, and yeah, it looks pretty sweet without the lens hood. On the camera, like I said earlier, the aesthetics are not the best, but in terms of feel and the way it works on the camera, it's amazing. It's really light, it's super compact. You know, it fits in my favorite camera bag, which is not even a camera bag, it's just a sling that I bought. But it fits in there very nicely. It doesn't add any extra weight to the camera because the lens is super light. And then, of course, you know, it works really well with Sony's sort of focus peaking and zooming and stuff like that. So I really like the way it integrates well with this camera. Unfortunately, you know, there's no EXIF data, and I wish if you just turn the focus ring that it would automatically focus zoom, like zoom in for the focus, but it's just not set up that way, so we're just gonna have to kind of get over that. There was two things that kind of worried me about getting this lens. One, it was the price. You know, like, you're paying basically $700 for this manual focus lens that isn't even meant for Sony's. Like, it's meant for Leica, which for Leica is sort of a bargain. I mean, 700 bucks compared to what the other lenses cost is like night and day. My other sort of worry was, I've read online that, you know, people are saying Leica lenses on Sony cameras result in like some weird stuff happening at the edges of the photo, like smearing or like blurriness. I forgot exactly what the term was, especially on wider focal lengths, so like 24, 28, and they said that the safest way to go is like 35 and up. So buying the 28 kind of worried me for that, but I have no clue what they mean. I don't know if Sony just changed the way their sensors work or whatnot, but it works perfectly fine. I didn't notice any sort of like weird sensor or image or color or anything happening at the edges. Maybe all of that changed with the Sony A7C II or the A7C line, but all of that stuff that people were saying about Leica lenses in the wide angle on Sony sensors, at least in my case, was not true. Image quality is pretty nice, I gotta say. It's got like this modern vintage look. Like, when you look at the raws, you can definitely tell that there's some character here. Like, it just doesn't look like my 35 Sigma that I'm shooting with right now. There's a slightly vintage rendering to that, and I don't know if it's because this lens was made for Leica, or it was supposed to emulate like a lens, some other lens, but it's really good. Like, it's not just an ultra sharp modern rendering. There's definitely, it's hard to explain, but you can just see a sort of vintage aspect look to the photos, which I personally enjoy, and I'm kind of glad that I got that feature or that sort of style from this lens. I was actually quite surprised on some of the raws, just like the pure color that comes out of this. It's actually not too bad. I don't have any complaints, but again, I can't give you too much insight on that because I just don't shoot JPEG. I like to just edit my photos and get the look that I want. If you guys are mildly intrigued by this setup, I'm going to leave links down below to the lens. I'm going to leave a link down below to the adapter, and you guys can go and check those out for yourself and maybe even pick one up. I think it's a great sort of little setup for travel and for street photography. Speaking of which, I will take this combo out, you know, the lens, and I'll go do some street photography. I just have so many videos that need to be done before I can do that, and but they will be coming out soon. Any questions at all, please guys do not hesitate to ask me in the comments. I actually interact with my viewers. You can check out my videos. I respond to pretty much every single comment. Ask me anything. I really want to help you if you're sort of have some questions about this setup or anything else that you want to know. Like, just please ask me. I will answer those questions. Hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. Get out there and shoot, and I will see you in the next video.